On the couch sat Lima, 20 years old, legs crossed, eyes glued to her phone. Her fingers moved quickly, tapping through endless reels, likes, and comments. The soft hum of the refrigerator was the only sound beside the faint buzzing of her phone notifications. Her grandmother, an old woman with kind but tired eyes, shuffled slowly across the room with her cane. Every step was deliberate, her thin hands trembling slightly as she made her way toward the shelf. Lima didn't even notice her at first. The old woman bent to pick something from the floor, a handkerchief that had fallen. Her fingers trembled, and suddenly, the cane slipped. There was a sharp sound, a muffled gasp, and then, a thud. Lima lifted her eyes briefly. Her grandmother was on the floor, struggling to get up. But instead of moving, Lima sighed and rolled her eyes. She leaned back on the couch, scrolling again. Her thumb swiped up another video as if nothing had happened. Her grandmother tried to reach for the table edge, her voice quivering. "Lima, child, could you help me up?" But Lima didn't even turn. "1 second, she muttered vaguely, not meaning it. The silence that followed was heavy. Only the soft ticking of the wall clock broke the stillness. The old woman's breathing grew heavier as she tried to lift herself. Her frail hand slipped, and she winced in pain. Still, Lima didn't move. She was laughing now, at something funny on her screen. If someone had entered the room at that moment, they would have seen 2 generations separated not by distance, but by a wall of indifference. 5 minutes passed before Lima's mother came into the room. Her eyes widened. Her mother was on the floor. Lima was on the couch, casually tapping on her phone. "Lima." Her mother rushed to the grandmother's side. "Mom, are you okay? What happened?" The grandmother's voice trembled. "I fell. It's nothing serious." I called Lima, but she was busy. Those words hit like knives. Her mother helped the old woman onto the couch, patting her arm gently. "You could have hurt yourself badly," she said softly, then turned her gaze back to Lima, sharp as glass. "Do you even realize what you just did?" The grandmother looked down, embarrassed. Lima felt a strange twist in her chest, but she hid it behind indifference. "She's fine now, see," she muttered. "Why are you making it a big deal?" Her mother's voice trembled with both pain and fury. "A big deal? Lima, this woman raised me. She's the reason you even have a home to sit in. And you sat there while she was on the floor?" Lima crossed her arms, looking away. "You're overreacting." The grandmother whispered, "It's all right, she's just young." "Put that phone down," her mother ordered. Lima sighed, setting it beside her. "Can we not make this dramatic?" I said I'm sorry. "You're not sorry," her mother said, stepping closer. "You didn't even look concerned. You're so glued to that phone you don't see real people anymore." "That's not true," Lima protested. "Really? Then what do you call what just happened?" Her mother's jaw tightened. That was the final straw. Her mother's voice dropped low, shaking slightly. "Not that deep? Watching your grandmother suffer is not that deep?" Lima realized she had gone too far, but before she could react, her mother stepped forward. "Get up." Lima hesitated. "What? Why?" "Get up." The tone was one she hadn't heard since childhood, stern, commanding, unstoppable. Lima stood slowly, her eyes uncertain. Her mother looked at her with a mixture of heartbreak and determination. "If you can't learn kindness through love, maybe you'll remember it through shame." She took Lima by the wrist and gave her a firm disciplinary spanking, not out of rage, but out of deep sorrow and disappointment. Each strike carried a lesson that words had failed to teach: respect, empathy, humanity. Lima burst into tears, the shock and guilt flooding her. "Mom. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to," her mother's voice broke. "You didn't mean to, but you did. You stood there and did nothing. When it was over, the mother stood still, trembling slightly. Go to your room. Think about what just happened. Lima, crying silently, turned and ran upstairs. The house fell into a heavy silence. Her grandmother sat quietly, eyes glistening with sadness. You were right, she said softly. She needed that. Her mother nodded weakly. Sometimes, love has to hurt to be remembered. Hours passed. The sun went down, and shadows stretched across the living room. Lima sat on her bed, hugging her knees, face buried in her arms. Her eyes were swollen from crying. Her phone lay untouched on the table. For the first time in months, it didn't matter. Every word her mother said echoed in her head. She carried you when you cried, she raised you, you couldn't even help her. The guilt was unbearable. She remembered childhood mornings when her grandmother made her breakfast, the lullabies, the stories at bedtime. And now, she had ignored her, as if she were invisible. Lima stood up and walked quietly to her grandmother's room. The door was half open. Inside, the old woman was sitting in bed, reading a small prayer book. Lima knocked softly. Grandma? The old woman looked up, surprised. Yes, child? Lima's voice cracked. I'm so sorry. I don't know what's wrong with me. I shouldn't have ignored you. I was being selfish and cruel. Her grandmother smiled gently, patting the bed. Come here, Lima. Lima sat beside her, tears flowing freely. I didn't realize how much I've changed. I feel horrible. Her grandmother placed a hand on hers. You made a mistake, my dear. But realizing it, that's what makes you human again. Lima rested her head on her grandmother's shoulder, sobbing softly. I love you, Grandma. I love you too, child. But next time, remember, phones can wait. People can't. Lima nodded, holding her tightly. The next morning, the house felt lighter. The scent of breakfast filled the kitchen. Lima helped her grandmother walk to the table, holding her arm carefully this time. Her mother watched from the doorway, silent but proud. She didn't need to say anything, the change was clear. When they sat together, Lima looked at her phone buzzing on the counter, and turned it face down. Her grandmother smiled faintly. That's a good start. Lima smiled back. I think I've learned my lesson. Her mother joined them, placing a hand on Lima's shoulder. Discipline isn't about punishment, sweetheart. It's about helping you remember who you are. Lima nodded. I know that now. They ate breakfast together, 3 generations, finally connected again. Outside, the world went on as usual, phones buzzed, cars honked, people rushed. But inside that small home, a quiet transformation had taken place. A heart that had turned cold had warmed again. And as the story closed, the narrator's voice could almost be heard. Sometimes, it only takes a single act of cruelty to reveal how far we've drifted from compassion. But it only takes one act of love, even a painful one, to bring us back.